For latest updates, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon.
Friends, our today's discussion is in connection with the forward contracts in foreign currency. You know it well, a contract enforceable at law between the two parties to deliver and accept the specified quantity of specified commodity at a specified future date or within a specified future period at a stipulated price is a forward contract. So, the forward contract means the rates are booked today, amounts are booked today. However, only the delivery period differs. The delivery takes place at a later stage. So that is how any fluctuation during the period are ignored. Parties make a contract, and that is how they are expected to deliver the currency, deliver the commodity, whatever is a concept of or whatever is a commodity or a currency for which the forward contract has been booked is required to be delivered at a given date or within a given period at a specified price. So the market fluctuations during the period are ignored for the purpose. For purchase and sale of the currencies also, the parties may enter into a forward contract. You know it well that there are the different types of the exchange rates. There may be a spot exchange rate. The spot exchange rate means the price at which the foreign currency can be sold or bought for an immediate delivery. In a foreign currency market, for a merchant transactions under a spot exchange rate, the deliveries are taking place on the same date. There may be a term transactions also. The term is a short form of tomorrow. In case the rates are booked today and the currencies are required to be delivered on the next day. Next day means the next working day is known to be a term. It's a short form of a tomorrow. Second working day for an interbank or overseas transactions. So to take care of administrative requirements and also the time consumed for the transactions, for all interbank transactions or all overseas transactions, the currencies exchange is taking place on a second working day. Means if a transaction is booked on a Monday, the currencies are required to be exchanged on Wednesday. Rates are fixed today, but the delivery at a future agreed date is known to be a forward contract. Any date beyond a spot date is considered to be a forward date. There may be a fixed date forward or there may be an option forward contract. Fixed date forward contract means the deliveries are required to take place on a given date as fixed under a forward contract. Option forward contract means the deliveries of the currencies are required to take place within a given period as prescribed under a forward contract. But the delivery period according to the FEDI and the Reserve Bank of India requirement should not exceed 1 month. Interbank currencies are exchanged on a second working day. Saturday and Sundays are considered to be the non-working days for a foreign currency market. The price difference between spot rate and a forward rate are due to the premiums and discounts. Interest rate differentials. You know it well that in a different currencies, for a currency market, the interest rates differ from one another. If you are trying to borrow in India, you may be required to pay an interest rate 10% or 12% or something like that. Whereas in case of you are trying to borrow in an American market, the rates quoted may be the 2%, 3%, 4%, etc., etc. There prevails to be a difference between an interest rates between the countries, and that is how the interest rate differential is considered to be a premium or a discounts. The premium currencies are the dearer currencies, whereas the discount currencies are the cheaper currencies. Higher interest rate currencies are the discount currencies. Conversely, the lower interest rate currencies are the premium currencies. When the forward contracts are booked, the deliveries are required to take place on a given date as prescribed under a contract. However, the banks generally accept the early delivery by recovering the swap cost, swap differences in the matter. If an extension is sought, the FEDI does not permit an extension of a forward contract. In case the extension is sought, first of all, the earlier contract is required to be cancelled and a new contract is required to be booked afresh. May be cancelled during the currency of a transaction or on a due date or after expiry. So that is how the forward contract may be cancelled prior to the delivery date, may be cancelled on a delivery date, or it may be cancelled after the expiry of a delivery date. Sale contracts are cancelled on an ongoing TT buying rate. Conversely, the purchase contracts are cancelled at an ongoing TT selling rate. The exchange difference not exceeding rupees 100 is ignored in an Indian market. If the contracts are cancelled at a customer's request, the bank shall recover or pay the difference as arising from a cancellation. However, in the absence of any instructions from a customer on a maturity date, the contract shall be cancelled as per the FEDI regulations automatically by the commercial banks. There may arise a swap cost and the cost of a cash outlay, if any, that shall also be recovered by the banks in the event of a cancellation of a forward contract. Advantages of a forward contract: if you book a forward contract, you are getting a more room for maneuver. The transaction does not take immediately. The transaction do take at a future date, and during the period you have an option to extend the contract, to cancel the contract, or to have a delivery or to perform the contract as booked. However, while booking the forward contracts, the bankers are doing a reverse transactions in the market. Say, if the banker has sold a forward currency to a merchant, the bankers will be making a opposite transaction in an interbank or overseas market. So under that transactions, the banker will be purchasing or banker will be making a contract for a delivery of a currency on the date when the bankers are expected to deliver the currency to the merchant. So that is how whatever the rates are quoted by the market, the banks add their profit margin, administrative cost and quote the rate to the customer. Similarly, if the bank is buying the forward transactions, if the bank is buying or bank is making a forward contract for a purchase of a currency from a merchant, the conversely, the banks will be selling those currencies on that date, delivery on that date in an interbank market or an overseas market. So that is how for a banker there are two types of transactions. For forward contract booked for a merchant, for the sale transactions, they will be making a buying transactions forward in an interbank market. For a forward purchase from a merchant, they will be doing a forward sale in an interbank or overseas market. Now, in the event the merchant does not fulfill their obligation, the bankers will be required to fulfill their obligation in an interbank or a overseas market. So that is how there arises to be a credit risk for a merchant to enable the bankers to prevent upon or to take care of the risk of a creditworthiness of a party. The banks are insisting for a margin or some security from a merchant. Longer the period, higher the risk. We have seen it earlier that the exchange rate fluctuates 15 times in a minute. According to that, the longer the period, the higher the risk. Banks will deal with only the approved bank. So that is how there may also be a risk in an interbank or overseas market. So whatever the counter deal the banks have put in an interbank or overseas market, if that bank fails or that bank does not deliver the currency or take delivery of the currency on a due date, there may arise a risk for the bankers and it is known to be a abstract risk. If a bank does not get a suitable counter offer, there arises a gap between a merchant transaction and an interbank transactions. The time gap between a maturity date of a forward contract book with a customer and a maturity date of a counter deal. There may also arise a cost of a badli. There may be an outlay for the gap period. The gap may be uncovered. There may be an additional risk of an exchange rate fluctuations. To cover all these risks, the bankers are taking a proper security to cover up those risks, and they ask for a margin or certain securities from a merchant. And in an interbank, the banks deal with the approved banks only to avoid the abstract risk. This is all about a forward contract for the day. We shall meet it with some another subject next time. Thank you.
For detailed learning of all logistics subjects, visit www.logiveda.com.